All right, you're still watching TVC Breakfast. We now take you all the way to the center of unity where we have Eshomamo Imodu and Tijesu Adeoye with the FCT Brief. Abuja, in Akwana, the conversation is with you.
Good morning, Ria. Another beautiful Tuesday morning here in the FCT. And what a way to begin the beautiful day. Eshomamo, good morning.
Good morning. And good morning, Nigerians. TJ, over to you now.
All right, let's take you straight into what we have for you today. Now, Benue State stands today at a defining crossroads, one celebrated as Nigeria's food basket. The state has in recent years become a flashpoint in the nation's deepening security challenges, from recurring communal clashes to armed attacks on rural communities. The struggle for peace has tested the resilience of families, security agencies, and leaderships alike. Under the administration of Hyacinth Aliyah, efforts are being intensified to restore order, rebuild trust, and reclaim stability. But the question remains, how far have we come, and what more must be done? The insecurity crisis in Benue is not just a local issue. It reflects broader tensions shaping Nigeria's security landscape. Farming communities have been disrupted, livelihoods threatened, and displacement has altered the social and economic fabric of the entire local governments.
As stakeholders push for coordinated action between state, federal, and community actors, the battle for stability demands more than military response. It requires strategic collaboration, policy innovation, and sustained political will. And this morning on FCT Brief, we take a closer look at Benue's security trajectory, what is working, what isn't, and what lies ahead. Joining us is Fidelis Unongo, Special Advisor to the Benue State Governor of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs. He is at the heart of the state's coordination efforts, interfacing across agencies and levels of government. Today, he brings insight into the administration strategy, the realities on ground, and the roadmap towards lasting peace in Benue State. Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on FCT Brief. Nice to have you here with us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Mr. Unongo, good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
okay. Let's start this way.
All right, let me begin with you. We've seen a lot of insecurity in Benue State, and we've seen efforts being made, to curb that insecurity, but, it seems not to be working. Now, why is this peace mission failing, and what is really being done right at the moment to, ensure that, there's lasting peace in Benue State?
Well, thank you for having me. I would like to say, when you say it seems not to be working, I beg to differ with you on that. Because security is a continuous thing. It's not static. It evolves, and evolves rapidly. When His Excellency came on board, we had about almost 16 local governments that were actively involved in insecurity. As it is today, with the collaboration of the federal government and the state government, that reduced significantly to 2 or 3. But as we speak today, this is more prone in 2 major local governments, which is Kwande and then the Sankra axis, that is Okum, Logo, and Katsina. But in Katsina, it's very minimal right now. So the focus right now is the Kwande axis of that. So what have we done as a state government? We have partnered with the federal government to introduce both the kinetic and the non-kinetic aspect. We have lots of IDPs, both in Goma and some in Kwande. And in Goma, as we speak right now, these IDPs, through the partnerships with IOM and international organizations, some of them are actually being trained. As we speak to you right now, we are reconstructing homes for most of them to go back to their ancestral homes as we speak. And today, in Kwande local government, where we had a very terrible experience some few weeks ago, for the first time in the history of this country, did a sitting president and the governor give a marching order that was obeyed. As I talk to you right now, the federal government's forces, forward operating bases have been set up in this place. There are 10 of them around the Nigerian-Cameroonian border through to Taraba. Because these bandits come through Taraba, sometimes they come through the Cameroonian axis. Right now, that has reduced. They are still in the bush, but I know that it's just a matter of time. We will flush them out.
Okay.
We will flush them out.
Okay. Still talking about what the efforts the state government and even the federal government are putting in place. I'd like us to still speak more on this aspect you just talked about. That is the Awase Abande area. It ought to be a commercial route that links us with parts of Cameroon and all that. What exactly can be done to secure this? That area and be able to add to the economic value, because you say the IDPs, people are beginning to go back to their communities. How about this area? What can be done?
So for Anwase Abande area of Kwame local government in Benue State, these are border communities with our international border, which is bordering Cameroon. The total kilometers about 120 kilometers that covers Nigeria and Cameroon. That is an economic hub because the Cameroonians come to Nigeria to trade, both in cocoa, agricultural commodities, and all of that. So, to have a lasting solution to these security challenges, because that place has been unmanned for a very long time, there was usually little or no federal government present. It is a matter of necessity, which the governor of Benue and the president have spoken about that, to set up and establish a free trade zone in that area. Why do we need to do that? Cameroon gives Nigeria access to the Central African republics. Okay. You have Cameroon, you have all the guys within the Central African Republic, cumulative GDP of about $106 billion. We cannot afford as Nigeria to close our eyes to that. And this is the largest land border within Nigeria. When it means land, the Benue Cameroonian border, 120 kilometers, that's a vast area. So Kwande local government as a whole is rich in all the normal agricultural products you can think about. Cocoa grows there very well. Then we also have natural resources, gold and the rest, heavily in that place. So if we must find a lasting solution, it has to be a solution that enhances the economic of that place and the people, therefore making it a top priority for Nigeria to man those borders. That's what we... So to further talk about this, recently, the Border Communities Agency in Abuja has set up a committee, which I'm also part of that committee, to look at possible ways how we can bring development to Kwande and that area. So that's what we're doing with the federal government and the state.
All right, Benue State is known as the food basket, and yet we have seen this persistent insecurity cripple farming activities in the state, reduce output, and has driven food prices high nationwide. Now, what's the government doing to secure farmlands and restore the agricultural productivity of the state?
You're still asking the same question I just answered. What's the government doing? The government is collaborating with the federal government to secure those places. 1, 2, the state government has provided agricultural inputs to farmers. State government, as I speak to you, has cleared farmlands for farmers. And then what we've critically done, which is really, really important, and then has been adopted by the United Nations, was to clear these farmlands and then get the IDPs into these farmlands, then give them the necessary inputs to farm, and then the state government takes those products from them.
Okay, let's look this other aspect, still talking about agriculture. For years, like you rightly noted, Benue State is considered as Nigeria's food basket. But beyond just being the food basket, beyond being strategic in producing the primary food product, are we thinking of upscaling to become a processing zone? Because it's not enough to produce this. How do we ensure that all through the year, the yam we produce, people have it to consume? What is the government doing about upscaling to become a processing zone?
So in Benue right now, we have an agency called the Benue Investment Property Company. If you visited Benue recently, you can see that that company in the last 1.5 years, 2 years, have set up processing plants, especially in the citrus area. We currently have the citrus plant that is working. We'll make juice and all of that. And then right now we also have a brewery in Benue that is actively competing with Nigerian brew for that market effectively, even taking over the market from the Nigerian brewery. And then also the governor has renovated and set up all the silos that are state-owned. Why are we doing that? One of the major issues we have when it comes to production and then low production is when these farmers farm, they go to the market, they are able to sell everything, it goes into wastage. What we do now is we mop up those products and then store them. So Inan gives them the incentive to go and farm more. We've gone into partnerships with companies that have set up tractor hiring services for the state. And then, which the most important is the subsidized inputs we give farmers. We've encouraged every farmer to go into cooperatives. So when you set up your cooperatives, we give you these things for free. Because when you're in cooperatives, it's easier to manage and then you produce at a larger scale for consumption for Nigeria and local consumption. Yeah.
Let's move away from security now and let's talk about governance. We see that there's a growing public clash in the state chapter of the APC, and that is particularly between the governor and the SGF. Now, how can a party that is battling division effectively govern the state?
So for every family, there are disagreements. Okay. Just like in marriages, we have disagreements. In party politics, we have disagreements. These disagreements usually are due to interests. And I can tell you that the governor, the president, and everybody is hands on deck to make sure that we resolve these challenges and move forward as one united party for the development of our people. The most important thing is the development of Benue and Nigeria. And that is why the governor is on the reconciliatory committee at the national level. So interests always will clash, but Benue and Nigeria is more important and superior to our interests as politicians.
We'll come back to that very shortly, but let's take a short break now. Don't go anywhere else. I have more for you on the program. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Now we're still reviewing the battle for stability in Benue State, and still with us is the special advisor to the Benue State Governor, Fidelis Unongo.
Yeah, Fidelis, we left off talking about agriculture and security, but I still want to go back a bit to this aspect of security. One fundamental challenge that we know that we do have in Benue State is on the issue of, what they call it, land grabbing, herders farmers crisis. Some people want land because they need to graze, and it's also their right to graze freely. And also there are local settlers that feel that they own the land, and there's this allegation that they have been systematically driven away from their land. Now, if you say peace is returning, that the government has positioned military bases, does that include ensuring that those lands that were initially taken over from the people are returned to them? Let's understand where we are on the issue of land ownership.
No government will sit and let bandits take over its territory or its land. Ditto with Benue. Animal husbandry is business. State government is not opposed to you doing your business, but you must do your business within the confines of the law. We're talking about banditry here. Therefore, the state government will not and will never, neither with the president, allow bandits take over an inch of land from Nigeria. So that's a settled case.
So those that were taken, have they been returned, and the people back to their lands? Because it's critical for agriculture.
Before people return to their land, certain conditions must be met. And that's what I said to you, that we are working on those processes with the federal government, international partners, development partners, to make sure that we return people to those places where they can go to immediately. But those places have to be safe. They must be safe. And that's why I talked about the Abande Anwas area. I said, first, to secure that place permanently, we must set up that free trade zone, create the enabling environment in terms of accessibility, roads, and all of that. That also helps with deployment. And then once there's an economic activity that Nigeria's interest is there because we're making money from that place, security comes back to that place. So it's not something that is going to happen overnight, but it's something that the government of Benue State and His Excellency the President are committed to making sure that it happens.
All right.
And it will happen.
All right. Earlier, before we went on the break, I was asking you about the division within the state chapter of your party, and though you answered saying that it is being worked on. But you know, crisis like this sharply divides people across, you know, the warring factors and all the people involved. Now, between Governor Alia and the Akume bloc, where does your loyalty lie?
I work with the governor of Benue State.
Okay.
My loyalty is with the governor of Benue State 150%. I believed in him when he came out to run for governorship. My belief in him is still firm because I believe he's leading the state in the right direction. We have the monumental development we're seeing in Benue. We've never witnessed it before. Never. This is the first time in the history of Benue that young men like myself will sit down here and you would say he's the special advisor on special duties and intergovernmental affairs. Or you say a young man in his 30s is the commissioner of works. Or a young man in his early 30s is the commissioner for youth and sport, and so on and so forth. And this is the first time you have so many young female ladies in the government heading parastatals and driving change. Governor Alia's success is because of young minds.
Will you be saying this if you're not part of the governor's cabinet?
I would still say the same thing if I was not part of the governor's cabinet, because we can see the changes on ground. Okay. I will still say that.
All right. Let's look at this. You talked about this young man and other young people that are involved in this, in Governor Alia's administration. Politics is opening up.
Yeah.
A lot of people are indicating interest and all that. Now, beyond being the special advisor on intergovernmental, especially intergovernmental affairs, what is that critical area in governance that you are involved, that you can say, I'm establishing my mark, that this is my part, because special duty is wide.
Yeah.
So what is that focal point?
So before I got into government, I was into agro-export. Okay. I exported Nigerian foodstuffs to the US. I was one amongst the first people that successfully exported Nigerian yams out. That led the lead president, the former president that passed on, President Muhammad Buhari, and then the late minister, Audu Ogbe, to put me on the technical committee for Nigerian yam export. I was the youngest person on that committee. Okay. We worked on a document that would have positioned Nigeria's yam sector and also positioned Nigeria's non-oil sector. In that document, we had suggested that the federal government should designate Lily Pond as the non-oil port, where the one-stop stop, where once you get in there, everything is done and then it moves on. I believe that is still in the pipeline, and eventually it might happen. So I was heavily in the agri sector, both trainings and all of that for people that wanted to export agro commodities. And then, of course, I was also a farmer and all of that. And public life, my dad was a politician. Okay. I'm the son to the late Paul Unongo. Oh, okay. He was once Second Republican Minister for Power, Mines and Steel. Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to tutelage of political power or how Nigerian politics is played, I believe I learned under the right person. And having said that, talked about politics coming in 2027. I strongly believe that the young person, because if you take a look at Nigeria now, there's a shift in generation. By 2027, new crop of emerging leaders will get into governance. These emerging leaders, it will close by 2031. These are the new sets of people that will lead Nigeria maybe for the next 4 decades or 3 decades before the next set comes in. So as a young leader that believes in the possibility of this country and the goodness of this country, it is mandatory and it behoves on like minds like myself to seek elective positions so that we can not antagonize the past, but then look at what they have done, what is good, what is bad, and how do we move this country of ours to where we want to get it. So for me as an individual, I intend to run for the Senate of Benue Northeast.
That is, if you get the blessings of the godfathers, whether the governor or the SGF.
If I get the blessings of the people, when you say the blessings of the godfathers, so that you get the blessings of your constituents, then you get the consensus of the elite. That's how it works. Because once you get the consensus of the elite and you get the blessings of your people, then you're on a good trajectory to achieve that.
Let's go deeper into this discussion now, because it's believed that a lot of people tend to use the security situation in the state to play politics. I know several times on the floor of the Senate, the issue of security has come up. What do you intend to bring differently? You've said you intend to run for Senate in 2027. What do you intend to do different from those that are already in the chamber?
So you see, like I said to you, if I was a current senator serving in Benue, if I was a senator right now in the cabinet or at the Senate floor, I know that lobbying the president and my colleagues to make sure that we have these industrial areas in that place will bring a permanent solution to the insecurity we're having. I would have been on that charge doing that. Now, I'll tell you why. Some may say, oh, he's just talking. I've been an advisor on special duties and intergovernmental affairs to His Excellency Reverend Father Dr. Hyacinth Chimamalia for the last 2.5 years, going to 3 years. As an advisor, I have lobbied the federal government to take projects to Benue. For example, the largest fashion hub in Nigeria, which I lobbied through the current SA to the president on SMEs in the office of the vice president, went to Benue. That facility has the capacity to employ direct labor 15,000 as I talk to you now. Furthermore, I also lobbied the federal government for cottage industries for Benue. As I speak to you, those cottage industries are being installed across Benue. So when we went out for campaign with His Excellency, some of these peasant farmers were cassava farmers, which make gari. And how are they making the gari? They dry it in the sun, normal frying. As I talk to you now, we have these hydrators and then we have these fryers. And we have pillars. It has made their work significantly easy. So when you do that, their capacity to produce the gari increases. How was I able to do that? By lobbying to get those things there.
Fidelis,
so that is what I'll do at the National Assembly.
Still talking about lobbying, this seems to be opening another vista, and this is it. The man who is there now, it's said to be on the side of the SGF. Is it that you've been brought in because you're loyal to the governor? And so this is still the clash of these two big men escalating to this point, so that you are his candidate, trying to take over the job of the candidate of the SGF. So how do you bring peace to the state?
So let me tell you something. There is no clash of interest anywhere. I'll tell you why. The SGF is my father-in-law. I'm married to his daughter. I am married to the SGF's daughter. It is not about clash of interest. It is about purposeful leadership. That's what it is. So if you have done well for your community will clamor for you. If you have not done well for your community obviously will
Are
push
you
you
saying
out.
your father-in-law did not do well for his community?
No, my father-in-law is not the senator.
Okay.
My father-in-law is the SGF. He's done very well for his people. He's a great Nigerian. Served this country well and still serves this country.
But the sitting senator hasn't done well.
The sitting senator hasn't done much for his community. And that's the truth.
That's just your perspective, you know.
You can take it. You can go to Benue Northeast and find out. And then besides that, let me extend this a little bit further. So you see, we in Benue, especially the TIV block of Benue, we strongly believe in zoning. I won't take you to the First Republic from 1979. Let's stop in 1999. Till that's 26 years of governance. In the last 26 years of governance, the Senate is divided within 3 blocks in the Benue Northeast. You have the Sankra axis, you have the JTRA, and then you have the Kwanda block. The Sankra axis, where the senator comes from, has had that for 16 years. The JHR block where the governor comes from have had it for 12 years. Where I come from, we've never produced a senator. The last elections, we loaned this to the current senator, which he signed an agreement that he would do 4 years. We, in the Kone block, we're not a conquered people. Vibrant, the most educated in Benue. The most educated in Benue. Very vibrant.
Fidelis, how far can you go if the SGF in 2017 says my candidate is the incumbent senator, he's your father-in-law, and you will listen to your father-in-law if he says this is my candidate because he knew that you are the candidate of the governor? How far will you go challenging the authority of the SGF in this game?
Like I said to you, the SGF is my father-in-law, and we'll leave it at that.
So now that we are approaching the elections 2027, what's the impression of the people? You've said politics is about the people in the state. So what's the impression about the people about the APC?
The APC is very formidable in Benue State. There is no party that is going to beat the APC in Benue State. Mm-hmm. Yes, I tell you.
That's quite confident.
I can go to sleep on that. Why is that? Federal government projects and state government projects, the people are feeling the impact. You might say this is not an achievement, salaries and pension, but before Governor Alia came in, it was a huge achievement. Governor Alia pays his salaries on the 23rd of every month since we came in. And infrastructure, road infrastructure, next to none. As I speak to you, I took a team that went and did an audit of all the general hospitals in Benue with the intention to equip all of them. And as I speak to you, the governor has paid for those equipments. They are coming to Benue.
And you think the insecurity currently in the state won't turn the people against the APC?
The insecurity will turn the people against APC if the governor is sleeping on his job. But the governor is not sleeping on his job. Just yesterday, the governor got back from Ukari, where he went to meet with the Taraba state governor, because these bandits come in through Taraba, so they can have an understanding to block this thing. He's not sleeping. He's working night and day with the federal government to make sure that we stop this insecurity. Security is the first priority of government. And the Aswaju government is working hard with state governors to make sure that we curb this insecurity. And like I said to you, it doesn't happen overnight. Security is fluid. It's fast-paced. What we ask of Nigerians, please be patient with us. We're working on it, and believe me, we will make sure that you sleep with your eyes closed. I understand when you come home and your wife is hurt, because my own relatives too have been killed in this thing. So I'm talking from experience. Talking from experience.
All right, Mr. Unongo, that's where we'll leave the conversation this morning. I will sure wish you well in your future ambition to become a senator in 2027. Well, we'll keep an eye on Benue State, and we definitely hope that the security situation is, peace is finally restored. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Look forward to coming again.
Thank you for being a part of our conversation. That's where we'll leave it. We'll now hand you over to Lagos, where Ria and the rest of the team are standing by to continue with the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you so much, TJ Su. That was a great conversation from the FCT. Thank you.